So, characters who appear in it are given player character strength resources. I don't know what the fuck that means. Top tier, Columbina from 6.3 and Alice, with the girl being the strongest. What do you mean, the girl? Oh my god? Alice non-binary confirmed? Holy shit! It's a bad translation from Damselet, I see. Second tier, Durin and Nicole, both strong supports. Third tier, oh, Varka, oh boy. Varka, Lightkeeper, I assume they mean Flins. Nefer and Loma, all with standard strong performance. And last, the 2 4-stars. Okay, by the way, alright, I'm gonna assume this is someone who did get actual, like, insider information on what ideas they have for the characters, but who doesn't understand the meta, okay? And from that, I'm going to speculate that the strongest character here is going to be Durin, and that he's getting underestimated because people tend to underestimate supports, and that Flynn's is also quite a bit better than they're expecting because they don't realize how broken Inefa is. Also, people tend to underestimate 4-stars, but also, it's rare for 4-stars to just be balanced. They're usually either really good or really bad. That's not actually true. Like, when you look at recent supports, you look at, like, Dahlia, Lanyan, Oron, all 3 of these characters are, like, good, but not to the point where I'd say they're, like, incredibly powerful, right? Like, they're fairly balanced characters. Dahlia's a bit weaker than the other 2, but, like, in Skirk teams, he is pretty solid. Okay, Lunar reactions are only triggered with water and require non-cry citizenship. Oh my god. So before the 6.3 Columbina arrives, your non-cry teams must include Ino to trigger Lunar Bloom and Lunar Charge. I mean, I know that's not true, right? We know that as long as you have Inefa, you don't need Ino. I assume they mean in order to trigger Lunar Charge for Flynn's or some shit. You need someone else to enable it, whether that's Inefa or Ino. That's probably what's actually happening here. It's probably that like, if I were to guess, my guess would be Flynn's is an EM scaling electro carry that has really bad elemental application, which would make it so that he can only work in teams where, like, his EM matters, but he doesn't need to be triggering reactions all the time, which would make you want to play him with Lunar Charge. Because if he doesn't let your team trigger Lunar Charge by default, I don't think they'd give him direct Lunar Charge damage. I feel like that would be weird if you could have Electro Charge and Lunar Charge happening. Does that make sense? I think Lunar will be exclusive to Inefa. I mean, we know that's not true. Because we know Ino enables Lunar Charge. Sorry, Lunar Charted. This could also be the leakers being really fucking stupid. And what they're trying to say is, if you want to trigger Lunar Charge for the old characters, you need Ino. But you don't care about triggering Lunar Charge for the old characters. You only care about it for Inefa and likely for Flynn's. So that would not be a statement that matters, and it would just be a massive misdirect. How will Flynn's work with Inefa? We don't know yet. We don't know what his kit does. Was there ever any accurate leak with multiple versions ahead like this? I mean, leaks like this, usually, they are accurate to current development plans, but sometimes development plans change. Right? Especially for the power stuff. Like, even within the beta, sometimes characters go from really good to bad, or from bad to really good. And supposedly, these leakers have a pretty good track record. Who went from bad to really good? Who did get, like, relevant buffs? I feel like it's been a while since characters got, like, big changes in beta. Yeah, Arlecchino got some pretty big changes. I don't remember what V1 Arlecchino did, though. But I think she got a lot better. Molani got some big changes, but she got a lot worse, not better. Klein got worse. Kind of. It wasn't a major change. Oh, Hylam got changed a lot. Yeah, but it was tweaks that rebalance his damage profile, but that didn't really make him stronger or weaker. Like, V1 Alhaitham and Live Alhaitham basically are about as strong as one another. Deya went from bad to worse, that is true. Nahida got that 1.5U Dendro. Never trust leakers gauge leaks. If it's not a data mine leak on HomniG Cat, don't trust them. They don't know what they're doing. Never trust it. It is incredibly possible that Nahida has always been 1.5U and people were just stupid as fuck. As far as I know, Yelan was never 1.5U. People just sucked at understanding how gauge works. Don't trust gauge leaks. I think early Shannon had to do 3 jumps before plunging to get the max amount of particles. That's possible. Who else got some big changes in beta? I mean, Mawika got a pretty big nerf, I guess. Bro, imagine V1 Mawika. Mawika got nerfed? Yeah. She got a pretty significant nerf. Her charge attack during burst used to do 25% more damage. The total 200 fighting spirit charge attack at talent level 9 is 400. In V1 it was 500. Like, just outright 25% more damage on the charge attack. The burst didn't change though. Like, the burst initial hit. Yeah. At the time, Mawika combos were incredibly unclear because the footage we got from leakers was awful. And Mawika was already calculated to basically be the best unit and the best carry, damage-wise, with 2 melts. Didn't Charlotte get nerfed? Yeah. I think the Charlotte nerf is probably one of the saddest nerfs in beta history. Because, like, it's not like she was so powerful that she needed a nerf. And the nerf didn't even make her that much weaker, it just made her more cringe to play. How did she get nerfed? You used to be able to get the particles from her hold, even if you just did a short hold. You didn't have to, like, fully charge the picture. Right? And you could get 5 particles on a short hold. Now, you have to do the full thing to get 5 particles, so you generally just don't. So you basically just lose 2 particles. So, character notes per version. 6.1, Durin is a strong pyro off-field support. In testing, he can heal and boost damage very strong. So, they say he can heal and boost damage. They don't say he can deal damage. They don't say he can apply a lot of pyro. I'm not sure exactly what to expect. As long as he has an okay amount of off-field pyro, I think a lot of people don't realize Overload got Omega buffed. Nowadays, when you look at the damage that Xiangling does in an Electro team, like with Chevreuse, there's a lot of teams where you're better off building full EM for Overload than building for crit. Which means, even if Durin's numbers are bad, if he has an okay-ish off-field application, his damage isn't gonna be completely insignificant. Right? So if his healing and buff are decent, he'll probably see play in a lot of places. Right? Like, right now, we don't have a Pyro character that properly fulfills the role of off-field app, but also good buff, right? Like, when you look at the Pyro characters that provide buffs and have off-field app, it's Mawika, Pyro MC, Ling if you pick up the Pepper, Toma if you're on a normal attack character. The amount of stats provided by these characters is just not that much. Guabadefra doesn't matter. When you need off-field Pyro, it's because your carry needs someone to be applying Pyro, which means your carry isn't Pyro. Like, the Shred does matter in some situations, but for the sake of teams that are looking for an off-field Pyro that also buffs your on-fielder, generally it doesn't. Oh, you get 40 damage bonus and her burst isn't pretty big. I mean, it's not bad, but, like, it's also not that good. 40% damage is not a lot. And it decays. You would not play a character if what they provided for you was just 40% damage. Freyna gives 50? No, Freyna gives more than 50 to the whole team, including herself. Freyna's 75? Yeah, Freyna's up to 75. And it lasts for a pretty long time. But yeah, Malika's power isn't really concentrated in her damage buff. The damage buff makes it so you don't feel awful just using her burst and swapping out in like a Varka team, for example. But it's not insanely big either. Like, there's room for improvement. There's a reason why the Malika teams aren't that much better than the Shanling or Bennett teams for Varka. There's a reason why when you look at runs on the Lava Dragon statue, no one uses Malika in the Varka teams. Because Shanling and Bennett are both better. Isn't that because Shanling applies more pyro? Yeah. Shanling applies more pyro, and Bennett applies less pyro. Both of which are better for the Varka teams in Lava Dragon. Right? But the main point here isn't Malika's bad in Varka teams. It's Malika isn't so good in Varka teams that she's noticeably ahead of other options. And as long as there is any factor that favors one of the other good options, Malika won't be the best option for your team. She's very replaceable in those teams, basically. Right? Malika in those teams is kind of like Molani in the Skirk teams. Like, she's technically doing useful things and helping the team and good there. But it's just because the other good characters also don't have the best synergy. Right? Like, it is what it is. Anyways. Malika also implicitly takes 2 slots. I mean, in some teams, yes, but in Varka teams, no. Because the fighting spirit requirement is already fulfilled by default. Anyways. Nefer is the main Dendro DPS using Lunar Bloom and wields a bow. Oh boy. So, the fact that the Lunar Bloom character we're getting is a DPS and a Dendro DPS kind of hints at the Lunar Bloom cores not retaining their lunar status if you Hyper Bloom or Burgeon them. They said they did? I don't think they did. On the Llama leaks, they said that Llama gives a buff to the Bloom cores for the first X triggered after you use her burst. And that buff gets carried over to Hyper Bloom and Burgeon cores. But I don't think it said that the lunar status also got carried over. And I feel like it might not. Because if it did, I feel like the carry we'd get for these would not be a Dendro one, it would be an Electro or a Pyro one. One lead said it worked with all Bloom conversions. Again, I literally just addressed that. That leak, it didn't say that the lunar reaction worked on all the Bloom conversions. It said that the buff that Llama's burst gives to Bloom cores work on all of them. But the lunar aspect of Bloom was a separate idea. So we don't actually have a confirmation on whether or not it carries over to the conversions. It could, but it also could not. It is completely unconfirmed yet. And for now, I don't expect it to, because the carry is a Dendro unit. Early Garen said it does, that even Bountiful cores can crit because it conserves the status. I mean, do you have a link to that? Because I didn't see a leak that said that. Maybe it's new, maybe I missed it. I don't know. I hope Varka plays without Farazan. I'm gonna be honest. I think the only way that's happening is if either Varka is like basically just Chaska 2, or he's an EM carry. Otherwise, he's probably gonna be stuck to Farazan. Or 3, he's Farazan 2. I think they would have said it if Varka was a support. But maybe not. I guess that's true. Maybe he could be just a Farazan side grade / upgrade. Oh, never mind. No, Anemo is or Varka is an Anemo main DPS focused on pure Anemo damage. Yeah, okay. Well, okay. 6.3 Columbina is a Hydro Polar Miser with strong off-field Hydro application. Has a skill like Song of Welkin Moon. What do you mean a skill like Song of Welkin Moon? Isn't Song of Welkin Moon the fucking name of the video? What do you mean a skill like that? Yes. The Dendro cores generated can crit and can trigger Hyperbloom and Burgeon. Those are separate things. This does not mean that the Hyperblooms and Burgeons generated from the Dendro cores can crit. Maybe they can, and maybe that's what they're trying to say, but that's not what they're saying. And I'm not going to speculate on what on trying to understand what they're trying to say on a shitty translation, right? I don't blame you for thinking that this says that the Hyperloom and Burgeon can crit. Because, like, it could very well be what they're trying to say. But that is not what they're saying here. Wouldn't Bloom critting be kind of strong? I mean, if you could just take existing Blooms and make them crit, and that's the only change you make, yeah. But Lunar Charge can crit, and it's worse than Electro Charged, because it being able to crit isn't the only change they made. They reduce the base damage, they reduce the EM scaling, they reduce the rate at which it happens. So does enabling them to crit inherently make them good? No. We have to know more before we know if it'll be good or not. Anyways. 6 point... Wait, actually. For Columbina, Hydro Polearm user with strong off-field Hydro. I wonder what exactly she's gonna be trying to do. Like, is she supposed to be a versatile support? Is she supposed to be a vape support? I wonder. Probably Lunar reaction support? I mean, sure, but that's vague as fuck. What does that mean? There's gonna be more than one Lunar reaction? Is she, like, what I'm wondering is if she's gonna be focused on only one of them, or if she's gonna be a versatile one. I kind of expect her to be versatile, but I wonder how things are gonna go then. We don't have any indications of Lunar reactions other than Bloom right now, right? Other than, like, Bloom and Electrocharge. So maybe they're gonna make her a quote-unquote versatile Lunar, but that versatility is just in Lunar. So she wouldn't work in Freeze because they don't intend on giving us Lunar Freeze. Right? Or Vape. Like, they could make it so that her kit is reliant on, like, one of the activation conditions for one of her talents is triggering a Lunar reaction. And that doesn't work without either Electro or Dendro, if that's what they're, like, trying to go for. Wait, also, I wonder what Aino's gonna change for Hyperbloom. Like, depending on how Lunar Bloom is, I wonder if Aino becomes a good last slot in Hyperbloom teams. I'm actually really excited to see. How much do you think Luma needs to put that Bloom back on the meta? I mean, it depends. She changes Bloom in a lot of different ways. Like, they could do a lot of different... They could balance her in many different ways to make her good or bad. Anyways. 6.3 second half and 6.4 will introduce 2 new female characters unexpectedly. Okay. 6.5 Varka is an Anemo main DPS focused on pure Anemo damage. Farazan stonks go up. That might actually be kind of bad though. Because, like, having cons on Farazan can matter a lot more than other 4-star supports. And if the carry is balanced around you having them, it'll be so awful for people that don't. Alright. Chat! Okay, but yeah, I saw something interesting in chat. I saw someone say Farazan's been out for a while and been on a lot of banners already. So it's not as bad. And I'm kind of curious about this. What con is your Farazan? I only want to know for people that don't have Shao or Wanderer, right? So option 1 will be I have Shao or Wanderer, right? This is only for people that don't already have an Anemo carry. C0 to C1, C2 to C5, and C6. I am curious about this. So, out of the about 2/3 of people that have, that don't have Shower Wanderer, about 40% of them have C6. This data point is very try-hard heavy, though. People that play enough Genshin and care enough about Genshin to hang out in a Theory Crafters chat generally tend to have been playing for a longer time than the average player. So if we try to generalize this data to more people, it'll probably go down. I think people who will actually go for Varka are Shao or Wonder Pullers anyways. I mean, maybe yes, maybe no. Do you think that every single person who likes Varka inherently also likes Shao and Wanderer? I don't think so at all. Shao and Wanderers are edgy losers. Varka is buff Chad. So like, I don't think so at all. I think there's a lot of people that don't like Wanderer or Shao that might like Varka. And if Varka ends up in a state where he's strong, a lot of people will go for him for meta reasons, or at least consider going for him for meta reasons. And then whether you have C6 Farazan or not becomes incredibly relevant to the question. They'll probably slap Farazan in his banner? Yes, probably. But Farazan might end up... Like, Farazan is often a lot more Constellation reliant than characters like Yanzan, for example. Because the thing about Farazan is that her C6 isn't just 40 damage percent and better energy requirements for her. It also reduces her field time and triples her particle generation for the rest of your team. Right? Instead of getting 2 animal particles, but only if you do a charge attack, you get 6 animal particles unconditionally. So if Varka is a character whose burst is important, right? If his burst is like who are recent carries that have important bursts? Right, if his burst is like an important part of her kit, kind of like of his kit, kind of like Mawika, or I guess Molani to some extent, or like Navia, where like you really want to use it every rotation, and you don't really have wiggle room to use it every 2 rotation or every rotation and a half. Game, yeah. Like if he's one of those carries that is actually burst reliant, C6 Farazan is going to be disproportionately powerful for him. But if he's like Wanderer, the C6 Farazan is a lot less important, right? But yeah, so it's kind of, yeah. Alright, 6.6. Nicole is a cryo support for all-field application designed to pair with Alice from 6.7 for melt teams. The double witch team works fine. So is that just gonna be Sitlali power creep? I kinda hope she does something different. And isn't just fucking the same shit again. I hope she's an off-field melt cryo carry. Not support. Cryo Shangling, yeah. Actually, no. Cryo Shangling would be way too good as an enabler. You get so much application. Tornado's a broken ability, man. Anyways. Alright, next leak. Sandro not playable in 6.X. Alright, everyone, pack it up. Skipped everyone in 6.X. GG. Nefer in 6.4. Didn't they say 6.2 in the other league? Yeah, whatever. Lynn 6.0 first half. Yeah, we know that already. Nefer is Dendro. Wow. Durin is Pyro. Wow. Right, Flynn's Electro, Varka, Anemo, Alice, Pyro. Okay, cool. And this is Yeah, this is what we already read. Alright. Cool, cool, cool.